So I finished the YCS remote duel in Europe this past weekend. I came so freaking close, so close. Cause like I started off the day rough. I lost my first round, and because I was just nervous because I haven't been to a YCS in a long time. It's been years. I don't know because like cheating is like the first thing you think of when you think of remote duel because you're in the comfort of your home. You could just like be quick about it, and then it'll be like a lot of he said she said type of scenarios. But fortunately, I wasn't that big of a deal. Like of course there's still like that little thing where you have to kind of like keep your eye on your opponent, like. Yeah, I like just watching their hand just to see like okay did it leave frame, did it little things like that. It's very surreal. It's very different, right? Because like of course like when you're in person like you can see them, whereas you kind of have to be more vigilant when you're like doing across the web, and it's insane. But like it was fun to say the least. Like I lost round one. I was like oh my god I was so excited, and then I lose get round one. I'm like oh my god that's so bad. But then I tore through it, man. I went undefeated until the last the not round what round was it? I lost the last round. I lost the first and last round. So I was like, wow, pretty good, right? I lost to Drytron. I lost to Daniel Hartman. Pretty sure his last name's Hartman. Sorry if I didn't pronounce it right. But he's not a chill guy. He's very you can tell like he knew what he was doing, the way he was sequencing his turn. Like you can tell like the caliber of a player by the way they sequence it. Like by the more their plays unravel, the more you can see what they were intending to do, and then oh okay, and then it all starts making sense. And if you yourself can anticipate that, it's gonna be too late by the time you try to respond because you were meant to interact at a particular point, and if you weren't paying attention or if you don't know the meta all too well, that's gonna just fly past you, and then that's when it's gonna be like oh what do you know. But nonetheless, it was super fun. I played solid. I've been grinding with it. Before the event, I wanted to do 50 matches before just to get the build right, and then I moved up to 75, and I did 75 matches before the event. I tried to get to 100 before the event, but I couldn't quite get there. So I capped it up to 75, and I lost 22 of those matches, and out of those 22, the most of those losses were to Drytron. So that got me kind of paranoid because I had the build already set in stone. Like, okay, this is the build. But then the last night of testing, I was running into Drytron and I kept losing to them. And I was like, wow, ultimately it's just like, you can't really do anything about it. Like they're going to get everything you do. And it's like, oh, I had to prepare for it. So you see the build, it's more inclined to favor that matchup, so you want to lose to it outright. So, of course, if you've been following the journey of the deck testing and the theory of this particular build, you know that these are my primary summons, right? Typically, you see Debug, and I'm a big fan of Debug. I played Debug for years, since the deck came out, right? Because it was just it was a card that was like, it's a Shadows. It gets you Gazelle. But like the way the deck's constructed, you kind of don't really need Gazelle as much. For those of you that haven't seen the video yet or have seen the previous videos, you'll get to see it now. Okay, so Debug. And you open up with any of these, it's kind of weird because if you open up Debug, the only time it's good is if you open it with Silent Mining. Because that favors this hand. Because you can go summon, Bait and Ash, okay, it's fine. But then if you don't have Silent Mining, you left these in hand and it's like, oh, well, that's not too great. So it makes it really awkward. Whereas these, if you open up Buffalo with any of this, it's fine because they belong in the grave anyways, and it lets you have place in case you do get Nibiru. Like get this out of your hand. Like if you summon Debug, right, and they ash you or they stop Debug, and this is in your hand, it's stuck in your hand unless you have Will or something, But this way, you're always gonna be in that situation where you can pitch this, have it in a grave, and then just try to relink the wolf if you feel like you kind of need to. But most of the time, you're gonna just be relinking the Bale and then setting both traps and passing, and that be sufficient enough. So then by then, for the following turn, you should have enough material to be like, okay, if I get any brood, I should be okay. I can play around it a bit better. And then of course you have your Falco and your Gazelle, non-explanatory. This is important, but not as important in this particular build. But yeah, the fact that so a lot of things that was happening at the event, I would do this effect, and I would hit something. I would almost 90% of the time I would always hit something, and you would either hit Rage or Roar, and then you have this in hand, right? So let's you go effect, add one, effect, special, right? If you feel like you didn't have any hand traps, then okay, it's fine. And then you go for the Stalio play, and then if you have Silent Mining in hand, then of course you would do this play, because you still have access to Gazelle. But if you don't, then that's gonna be risky, so you just go relink the Bale. But most of the time you go effect +1, Stalio +2 and +3, and then so on and so on. And that's like really, really good. Okay, and then this is the hand trap. It was very hand trap heavy, because at first I was playing torrentials and lost wind because I did not want to lose to like Winda and stuff. It did well, like it did really good. That's the build that I tested for the 75 matches. Like it did really good. But then last minute I was like, oh my god, let me just change this. So I went for 3 nibiru, made it nibiru because the mirror match, like most of the players just don't know how to play the deck properly. They just fall into this, and when they don't need to. Like, it's just full greed. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? And then the triple ash, of course. And these were the last editions. I was made like in Bell because it stops Schism. It stops quite a lot of things, right? It stops Crow. It stops the Scarlet. It's very generic. Like it's pretty good for what the deck is for the decks that are being played right now. Like I stopped so many invocations with this. It was crazy. It was really cool. And then what else did I stop? Schism as well. Yeah, Schism. Then of course, this is the last one, Triple Crow. So these were 3 Torrential, 3 Lost Wind. But last minute against Drytron, I want to open up hand traps against them. I do not want them to get to Ultimateness, otherwise you just lose. And I did not want that to happen. So majority of the time, I always had like 2 hand traps versus them, which is really good. And unfortunately, that one particular Drytron I lost to was Daniel. It was just really bad. I was like, I made an insane misplay. Like he left because this was like 3-4 in the morning, mind you, right? It's like, so I was tired, I was exhausted, so I didn't like, I thought like Alpha's effect stats were like 2000 defense, so I didn't even bother bringing it over with Bay Links. So I left it on the field and he just used it. I was like, oh my god, are you kidding me? So that was awful. That was like, yeah. But these hand trap lineup was amazing, very generic. I would always be citing these out, but I mainly kept these in. But like this varies, you know, depending on the thing. But because at this tournament, the trigger effect where it's initiated, if it's no longer there upon trigger, it won't activate. It won't get a chance to activate, which is what made this an easier decision. And then of course you have your circle, your sanctuary, and of course your triple pot. Then you have your triple mining, right? I was testing the build without minings for a bit. And it was interesting, for sure. It was very interesting. But the fact that you can go mining, discard Roar, and then summon any Cyberse, and then reeling the Cyberse, and you just get back the Roar, it makes it so you just, with card economy wise, you're just way ahead. And that's the sole reason why I kept it in. It was just really good in that regard. And of course you have, this is where it gets a bit controversial, right? You got triple will, because the way the deck is meant to be played is like, okay, reeling the Bale, and then hand trap, both traps, pass, right? And then if that setup holds up, you're gonna want to be top decking like Cybers, right, to finish off and reestablish your board by making a wolf, adding back your roar and your rage, and then setting and then passing, right? The same thing. You just keep doing it over and over again. And this is basically allows you to do that. It allows you to play around the bureau because you can make set up to where you have both traps and grave, and making a wolf, and then using Jaguar's effect, and then adding back the Gazelle, and then linking those two to make a wolf, and then you save your relink, right? You save it. So then if the Nibiru, you go attempt to end main phase 1, and then they go Nibiru, okay, it's fine. Activate wolf, bring back the wolf, activate Sanctuary, and then you relink the wolf, and then you still have your setup, which is amazing. It's just really good. And this is the last condition. I was not main decking this, but I was so freaking glad I did. I drew it quite a few times, and I was like, "Whoa!" It's like ratios are a myth, man. It was always just there. I was like, "What?" And because like they would you would shuffle, right, and they would ask, okay, the top 3, top 10, top 7, top 6. So I was like, okay, and I was fortunate enough to just see this in the last round, which is like on the bubble, because I got I won 9-2, and I was like, oh my god, I was against Destin, and he was playing Invoke, Shadow, Dogmatica, and then he ends up with a board. I was like, oh my, did I just lose this? But then when I went, game 1 I lost, games 2 I won, and then game 3, I won game 1, he won game 2, and I won game 3. Yeah, because I went first. And I opened up this and Judgment, and I was like, oh, I'm not losing this game, dude. This is insane. And of course, it's played triple strike, just because it's Striker. This is a little bit weird, though, because they announced that the Striker thing, like if you summon Kagari and it gets negated, I mean, the summon gets negated, they can just summon another one because of the revision rules. So I was like, oh, this makes it kind of bad because then, but it was still good. It was nonetheless, it was amazing because like sometimes you would want to save it for nibiru for the following turn so you can push because that's something you have to consider. Like sometimes you don't have to use your roar. Like let's say if you had like will in hand or if you have enough grave set up, you save your roar so then you can prevent the nibiru that prevented you from setting up at your best potential the turn one, and that's what basically this is. So like if you can like kind of gauge and anticipate, you can be like, okay, I don't really need a strike. I'll save it in case for Nibiru because that's what I really want to protect myself against. And I guess it varies from duel to duel, so you have to kind of like understand it yourself. But yeah, and then this is the other thing that's a bit controversial as well. Triple rage, triple roar. So this is why Gazelle is not as important, right? Because the reason for Gazelle and the reason people play mining, play debug, play Stalio is to get to this because this is your consistency card, right? This is your consistency card. This gets you to any of this or any of your like Jaguar, Spinny, Foxy. So the argument behind that is you play two of these, right, to prevent bricking, right? But I feel like if like okay, so the times I've lost when I did try the deck without maxing these out is when I didn't have either or I had too many like generic like interactions that I cannot recur back. Whereas if you can establish and get to these guys as fast as possible, right? If you can get this as fast as possible, that means you can reestablish that particular setup every single turn. And then you just cycle this and you just keep doing that. You just keep cycling this. The first turn, initially you go Bailings, Wheeling, Bailing, set 2, pass, right? And then majority of the time you're gonna have a hand trap and this. So that's 3 interactions. And if you anticipate properly, you can be able to hold it and I guess influence your opponent's plays to your best interest, right? So then you do that, and then on the following turn, seeing as you play triple wheel, a bunch of hand traps that can turn into Omirage, which is amazing, and the salads themselves makes it to where okay, these are engraved already. I just get them back again, and then just keep doing it. And by your opponent can only push past so much interactions before it just becomes inevitable, Whereas if you draw generic like this. Hand traps, you can't really recur these, especially if you can't like fully impact your opponent's turn. It'll be like, oh, it can be a little bit underwhelming. But that's just what I noticed, and I like the logic and theory might not seem like it should work, but it just does. Like I've tested, I've grinded all the effort, all the time. It works. It just works. Of course, like the pessimistic thing to think about is, oh, I don't want to be drawing this going second and. There were so many games where I opened up both traps going second into a board, and the fact that I opened up wheel on like things like this, like open up this and this, right? Like it was so like on top of like you interacting, right? Like there was a lot of times where this would happen, right? I would like Nibiru board, right? And I would open up like this. This would be my hand, like this would be like my hand or something. I'll open up this, and then that's why Nibiru's there to deal with an overwhelming, right? You break a board breaker. Okay, so you Nibiru them, and then you draw this, and then let's say you draw into another trap, or you draw into this, doesn't matter. And then you don't even have to fully extend. You just go summon, link, add, and then do a little push, set these two, and then pass, right? And on top of what they've already exerted and what they have already invested after they got Nibiru, before they got Nibiru, is like they're going to be struggling. They're going to be depleted. So then a proper Rage and Roar is just going to finish the game. And if it doesn't, it's going to even slow them even further. And then this is going to be engraved. Your drag was engraved. You draw for turn. You relink the Bale. Well, not relink the Bale. Just assuming your Bales didn't get banished, you just do this, make a Wolf. And you're going to relink the Wolf, add back both your traps, and just do it again. Like, that's just crazy. And yeah, that was insane. Like, that's like the pessimistic outlook, right? Where you feel like, oh, what if I draw the traps? It's gonna be like really, really, really bad. But like, it just ended up working out, and it was really, really good. Like, it never did it. Like, dude, 9-2, dude, 11 rounds, 9-2, and then prior to this, I did. Oh, you can even check out DB Grinder's videos. He featured me twice, one against Striker and one against Christian Urena. He was playing like a Eldritch Dogmatica Red Eyes deck. It was insane. Like it was crazy. But it was go check it out. You can see how the deck functions there, and subscribe to him as well. Okay, so this is the side deck. because I was scared of Drytron once again. Duel was just Drytron or any like dogmatic invoke. It was amazing. And then of course Dark Ruler for going second against um um Drytron or any build the board or any like when you go second you just activate it and you just play. You can OTK, but it doesn't matter. You just break their board with access code and relink a bail and set both traps, and that's sufficient enough. And triple super twin just for backward X, and these were the MVPs, the ones that like I didn't really cite these in. These are the main ones I cited. Especially these two saved me so many times. Just Dark Ruler evenly boom. I was just insane. I guess Virtual World he had on the same board. Henta spelled me. I was like, he has Shen Shen. I was like, how that? Because the deck loses to Shen Shen. Like if you don't have this, you just lose to Shen Shen. Like you can't really out it. There really is no out. So if you don't have Nibiru or you don't have this or you have this, then it's gonna be kind of like a struggle because it's just hard to play around Shen Shen. It's just really hard. And then Judgment. This is the last edition. I was not sure what to add. For the longest time, this was my side deck, and I was like, "What's the last two cards?" And then 2 hours before the deadline, I ended up. Let's just go Judgment. I need to go first Judgment still because like whenever the Crows like subpar or just not good against a particular matchup, you just side in this into going first, and then it worked. It was amazing. Like against Virtual World, they normal summon. I just Judgment the summon. It was a risky move, but I felt like it would be enough, and it was. And then he just passed. I was like, "Oh wow," and it was just really good. It was insane. It just really good. Like I think it's quite apparent what you said. Oh, something that was really obscure and was really weird that I saw myself doing a lot during the match, during the event. I was citing these 6 out. It's weird. I know it's weird, but like there was times where like, oh, let me just cite these out. You know, like because I would much rather have a side deck to help me against that particular matchup that obviously I would be like having like the odds against me. I would rather have a card for them than a card for myself because like the deck itself already has enough consistency. So that I'm not sure if you want to try that, but like it worked out. It wasn't too bad. Okay, then we got too long. Okay, so then we have the extra deck. This is where it's a bit weird as well because like this is what I've been testing these past few weeks or this past 2 weeks. True double access code. This no one expected this at all ever. No one expected this. They were like, "You played 2?" Like what the? It was just insane. And then of course to go along with it, you play double talker and double splash mage because I saw myself this coming up so often. Like this is how the deck. This is the deck's win con. And sometimes in the Nibiru, your first access code, so you have to set like a strikes and pass on the Nibiru, and then you interrupt them. And then they feel like they're safe because the win con is gone, right? Which would be update transfers. You know, they was it on. It's already gone. But then when I summon the second one, they're like, okay, what do you make? Access code is already gone. Okay, anything? Nothing. Okay, it's fine. And then I summon this. What the? Like, what are you kidding me? That was hilarious. And then after Jammer, and then of course Almaraz. This is specifically for because of the way the deck is built. Because you max out on the traps. And the fact that you have so many hand traps, you can normal summon these and have these be live. So like that didn't really happen as often as it normally does, but it's there for that particular reason. And the way the deck functions as well, it's just the 4th Bailings basically. Stalio, amazing! It's just so amazing. Like doing the Foxy play, mill, add special spinning, and then just go off. Like it's insane. And then the last one, of course, triple Wolf and triple Bailings. So as if you notice, I've cut Heatleo. I haven't been playing Heatleo for the past few weeks because it just hasn't been coming up. Depending on the meta, but like I feel like this just does what Heatleo does just a little bit better because this actually guarantees game. But there are those instances where I feel like making a Heatleo and then saving the Heatleo's effect with the bail and then making it again does come up like it does, but I don't see myself playing the deck without the double. Like the double just comes up so much. It just comes up way too often, man. But yeah, I don't know, dude. Like for each their own. But this is what I'm comfortable with, and maybe later I'll change it. But so far, I don't see myself changing this anytime soon. One thing that I did miss was Lingaribo. So like if I were to choose between Lingaribo and Heatleos, I would go for Lingaribo because that's so easy to make, and you can bring it back with transcode and just like every turn just negate a trap and banish it against Eldritch is insane. So my matchups were round 1 was Tri Brigade. I think it was Logan, Round 2 was Prank Kids. Round 1 I lost against Tri Brigade. Yeah, the statue. I couldn't even get past the statue. And then round 2, Prank Kids, I won. Round 3, Sky Striker, I won. Round 4, Virtual World, I won. Round 5 was really weird, interesting. It was Melidius. I don't know what the hell that is. They basically do a board where they make their card indestructible and then just beat you down the following turn. And I mean, at least that's what I got from it. And I beat that. Round 6, the Mirror, I won. Round 7 was Adagnister, I won. There's a guy from New Zealand, I can't remember his name. Round 8 was Drytron. Was it Drytron? Was it Drytron? Yeah, it was Drytron. It was Daniel Hartman, and I lost that one. I was like, oh, so tired, man. Oh my god, it's a good game. Chill guy as well. And then round 9 was Invoke Doll, Dogmatica. I won that one. Round 10 Virtual World. I won. Round 11 Invoke Dogmatica. Shadow. I won that one. That one was a crazy game. I won that one strictly because of order. I drew order, and that's unfortunate. That's it, dude. It was an insane game. Oh my god. So I ended up playing 2. Tiebreak is 37th, man. 37th. Oh my god, dude. I'm for sure I'm gonna compete in the next one because that was super fun. That was like really cool. Like I know some of you won't like the higher card count deck because like you're very like the standards it's always been 40, like 40 and then percentages, and then I understand that there is logic to that. There's merit to it. There's reasoning to do that particular way because it's proven to work, right? But like, if it makes sense and if it's not too illogical, going above 40 should not be an issue. It should not. It's more so paranoia and like being like thinking like if for example, like if you're constantly drawing the field spell, like for example, let's say some people just get unlucky and unfortunate, and then let's say like 9 out of 10 games you draw the Sanctuary. That will mold your philosophy into like, maybe you want to play like no field spell because you always draw it. Of course, you wouldn't do that because you need the field spell. But it's just an example of what I'm trying to say. Or let's say, for example, you're always getting Lightning Storm, right? Let's say you're Breaker, you're always getting Lightning Storm. Your philosophy will change and it'll influence your deck building into combating Lightning Storm. Does that make sense? So that is the same thing when you deck build. Like I've never had an issue where I've opened up this and it's lost me games. It's rarely happened. Rarely, like probably like 1 out of 9 games I've lost because of that particular reason. But other times, the deck is it's so spread apart that it's unlikely for it to happen. Like you just set this, you draw 1 and 1. Foxy hits almost 90% of the time. For you ratio guys, for you percentage guys, you're always gonna hit something off Foxy, which is insane. And not having to rely on Gazelle to resolve is even better because like that means that you go okay, if summon, Brilliant, make Balinks, trigger Gazelle, then negate Gazelle. That's fine. I have these 2 anyways. Like it doesn't matter. You just wasted a card. You know, like that's the theory of this particular build. But it takes a while to get used to because you're constantly gonna be blaming. Oh, the reason why I lost is because of this. Oh my gosh, I should have. You know, so it's a psychological thing when you're deck building. It's insane how it gets overlooked in that sense because it has a lot to do with it. But that's gonna be long enough. I'm gonna go ahead and finish it here. Go ahead and try out the deck. It works fine depending on your region. Main deck Nibiru, not main deck Nibiru, but like I just felt like for this particular event, I just felt like I needed to play these. Like this is mandatory. The Ashes is mandatory. So like if you really wanted to cut to 40 and just play the like this, right? Cause what is this? 3, 6, 9, right? And it's 40. Okay, so that means that'll be 47, right? So like this will be 40, right? You can literally just cut this and this is 40. And still play a similar concept. Just not as many hand traps. But like I feel like the hand traps are just needed. I guess to filter the deck, because yeah, I don't know, just feel like it works. But that's gonna be it. Hopefully enjoyed the video. Let's subscribe if you haven't, and thanks for watching.